been two big changes in the real estate industry lately. These are nationwide. This is not Panama City Beach, this is not Florida, this is across the entire United States. And one of them is buyers needing to sign going forward a buyer agent agreement, and then also talking about how a buyer agent is compensated, our fee. So let's get into it. I've got lots of information about it. Now, keep in mind, this is brand new. We're all just easing ourselves into it. These changes are actually occurring in my market tomorrow. And so this is all the information I know as of now. And then I'll do another video probably in another like 2 months and be like, okay, how's this working out? How are we doing? But for now, let's talk about the current state of beings. All right, so think about it this way. For decades, the buyer's agent, me, if I'm taking you to show you property, my compensation, my fee was included in the sales price of the property, right? So listing agent, like if I go on a listing presentation, a listing appointment, the amount that we set for the home to be sold for includes my fee as a listing agent, a percentage for the buyer's agent, and then all the other fees, like the closing costs for the seller and you know their fees and their taxes and everything. And then I present them with the seller net sheet that would say, okay, here's what we want to list your house at, and here's the compensation fees, and then here's your closing costs and your taxes, etc. And here's your bottom line. And of course, if they had a mortgage, then they would, you know, factor that in as well, and that would give them that. So in a sense, the buyer, well, not in a sense, truly, the buyer always paid the commission because it was part of the listing price of the property. But the buyer never had to come out of pocket for the commission, right? So, and the thing about it is the listing agreements have always been negotiable. So first of all, if a seller doesn't want to use a realtor to sell their property, they didn't have to. There's a thing called for sale by owner, tragically, but they didn't have to. They could sell their own house. And if they met with a listing agent or several, as I always tell people they should, then you know those fees are always negotiable. How much you pay the listing agent, how much you pay the buyer's agent, is it the same amount on each end? You could have 2, 3, 4 different realtors giving you different amounts. It was always negotiable. But now the seller can still pay it. Here's the critical thing. The seller can still pay it, and hopefully the majority of them will, but it's how that information is displayed and communicated to the buyer's agent. Okay, and when I say that, it goes like this. So effective tomorrow in our market, when I open up MLS and I'm searching through all the listings and looking for things from my buyers, there will be zero compensation in the MLS. So the little field that we used to have in there that said, hey, buyer's agent, you bring the buyer, you're making X percent, is no longer going to be there. So we are going to have no idea whether or not the seller is actually going to pay buyer's agent compensation. So they can still pay it. Again, the sellers can still pay it, and hopefully the majority of them will, because there's really a downside if you don't. You'll hear about that in here in a second. But we won't know for sure. Now, what's interesting is that the compensation cannot be on MLS, but the buyer's agents can post it all over social media. So it could be on, you know, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and if they have a website that actually doesn't feed through the MLS system, it could be there too. So it's just MLS where you can't see it. So if you watched my video before, we talked about the buyer's agent agreement, and we talked about the form that that comes with that buyer's agent agreement. So I'm going to post that up here for you, and then at the end of the video, so you can go back and reference that video as well, talking about the actual buyer's agent agreement. But in the form, there is the one line that talks about, oh, I should have grabbed my glasses. Commission. Okay, that's the buyer's agent fee. That's how much your realtor who's helping you purchase a property their fee to do that job for you. And we will have the conversation at the time we do a consultation on the phone, or prior to us going and looking at properties, because this has to be signed prior to us looking at properties or me going and showing you virtually by taking a video of the property. So there's a box here that says you acknowledge that broker's compensation for representing you in connection with your purchase of a covered property is blank percentage, and you acknowledge and understand that broker commissions are not set by law and are fully negotiable. So when you go into MLS, where it's been before, and the commissions are in there, it fluctuated, that percentage. So not every percentage was the same. So again, when we have this conversation about compensation for me as your buyer's agent, you know, we can talk that portion of it through. So we'll fill out that portion where it says, you know, the percentage of the contracted price of the home. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because there's a little box here, there's a line here that says you have the option in your sole discretion to direct the broker, me, your realtor, not to show you properties where you may have an obligation to pay all or part of the commission compensation. If you select that option, initial and complete the following. So you would initial a little box, okay? Also, it says brokers, with that initialing, broker is directed to only show properties that have a compensation offer of at least blank. So whatever amount we negotiated up at the top for my fee, if you do not want me to show you properties that don't equal that amount, then that's what you're gonna put there. So those two would match. Confused yet? All right, so, you know, in some cases, some buyers will be fine with paying a buyer's agent commission if the seller is not. But a lot of times people cannot. They, you know, they can't afford to pay that fee in addition to their closing costs, in addition to their maybe relocation expenses, or, you know, all the other fees that come along with, you know, buying a property. So I understand that. And that's why I'm hoping that sellers will get that part too, and not really change the way we've been doing business. It's just how we have to go about getting that information. So how will you know, and I know, which properties are actually going to offer compensation or not? I pay my fee. Let's review the process. Again, this is brand new coming out. You know, things could change a little bit. We don't know, but as of now, this is how we're doing business. So we have say you and I have a buyer's consultation, right? We've talked on the phone. You've told me the type of property you're interested in. Maybe you're looking to buy a condo, investment property, or you're moving to the area. Great. And based on your, you know, your needs and your wants, I'm going to set you up on a search through MLS and share properties with you, and along the way answer any questions that you have. Let's say, you know, you're not coming to town for another couple months, so I'm going to be sharing those properties with you. You can ask me any questions that you have, and we'll go ahead and sign a buyer's agent agreement, and stating that, you know, you like me and I like you, and we're going to work together if you wind up buying a property in my area. So now let's say you're coming to town and you're like, okay, Sharon, we really love these 10 houses. Okay, great. So I will go ahead and I will need to contact the listing agent for each one of those 10 properties. And I will need to ask them the question, like, is the seller paying a buyer's agent commission, a fee, compensation, whatever we want to call it? Is the seller paying that? If so, what percentage are they paying? If the listing agent says no, they're not paying it, then I'll be like, okay, your property's just gonna sit on the market. Or they may say, Depends on the offer price. You can include it in the offer. Okay, all right. So the yes is great, you know, and if it matches my fee, then I'm gonna say, hey, yeah, these properties out of these 10, you know, these 7 are offering to pay my fee, and it, you know, equals to what my compensation agreement is with you. If there's a property that, you know, you really have your eye on and you may think you love, and I may think be the perfect property for you, and that compensation doesn't quite match up to what you and I agreed to, well, you and I can have a conversation about that and you know, and see how we kind of bridge that gap, so to speak. Because the worst thing I want to do is I don't want to keep anyone from like seeing a property that they really think they might love, and it might just come down to sellers just having to understand that, you know, going the way of like not offering a compensation basically is going to exclude a tremendous amount of buyers. And again, in a couple months when this is really going and everything, we're going to see how that really plays out. But that's going to be, you know, the difficult thing is like if you fall in love with the property, but there's no compensation offered. So the other thing too is if they answer the question of, oh, it depends on you know, the offer, it's going to depend on the offer. Okay, well, here's the thing with that. Basically, you're telling me no, is what you're telling me, because there's no guarantee, right? So let's say I take you and I show you that property and you love it and that's the one that you want, and then we go to put in an offer and we include my compensation in with it, and the seller rejects it. Then we're just kind of back to square one, right? So for me, it's either going to be like a yes or a no. Always going to give you the option, even though if you've signed the box and checked the box that said you don't want to see any properties that don't offer buyer's agent compensation, I'm always going to go back to you and offer, like, these are the properties, these are what they said. Do you want to change and see any of them that are not offering buyer's agent compensation, or, you know, may potentially offer it? That's where it kind of get muddy in the water and stuff. And then you can make that decision on how you would like to approach that. So me personally, I know going into new listing appointments with sellers, there's gonna be sellers that are going to bring this up and they're like, oh, I don't have to pay a buyer's agent commission, I don't want to. Well, guess what? You never needed to. You can go sell your own dang house, put a little sign out in the front yard, for sale by owner, and just have random people come walk through your house. Fine by me. But if I'm going to represent you, if I'm going to represent you, I am going to require, this is for me, that you have a buyer agent compensation built in, just like it always has been, and again, has always been negotiable. And then that way I can, when people call me up, want to see my listings, yes, we are offering buyer's agent commission, here is the document that states that. Because the reality is that a seller who doesn't offer buyer's agent compensation, in my opinion, their property is going to get looked over probably about 70-80% of the time, to be honest with you, because there's going to be a lot of buyer's agents, you know, buyers out there, like you guys are like, I don't want to pay this. Like I got so many closing costs and fees and things like that, and I don't want to pay it. And here's the funny part. So you got a seller who's like, okay, I don't want to pay a buyer's agent fee. So let's just say that percentage, you take that percentage and like, here's a dollar amount that now the seller is saving because they're not paying a buyer's agent. Are they going to reduce the house by that much when they put it on the market? Is it going to be that much dollars less because there's no buyer agent commission? No. They're still going to want the full market price for it. The full market price, because that's that part that comes in of the not understanding how important it is to have buyer's agent bring you customers. It's not that often that as a listing agent, buyers call you directly. It's not, to get information, because there's so many third-party sites out there that when buyers go to these third-party sites and they think that when it says click this button for more information, or text or email, whatever. They think they're getting the listing agent, but they're not. They're actually getting just a random realtor who has paid to be on that third-party site and get leads. So they're not getting the listing agent. The listing agent's information will be at the very, very bottom of that listing. And they got to really search to find it. So that will be the difference. So there's lots of scenarios that can play out. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray areas, guys. We're going to see how all this goes as we're transitioning through to this new way of doing business. I understand it's going to be frustrating for the buyers. It's going to be frustrating for us. Things are going to take more time. But we will muddle through. And I think the best piece of advice I can give you with all of that, like I did in the buyer's agent video, is pick the right realtor to work with. It's going to be more critical than ever that you have the right realtor in your corner that is going to represent you, that has the experience level, that can walk you through this process, can troubleshoot anything that comes along, and can guide you through to finding you the property, because it's already stressful enough buying a property, especially if you're moving from another area and things like that. That's already stressful enough. You just need to make sure that you have the right real estate agent in your corner that you can trust, because you are trusting them with basically the largest monetary purchase of your life, right? So it's really important. And I've got some information about myself, and if you watch any of my other YouTube channels, you may know about me, which is awesome if you do. But if you don't, I'm gonna give you some more intel into my background, specifically of having been in real estate at this time for 19 years. So I hope I didn't confuse you too much. Yeah. There's a process to it. It's a yes, no, maybe. We work our way through it. We're going to see how sellers react. We're going to see if it really is that big of a deal or not. I'm hoping that it's not. It's just a new way of doing business. And I feel confident that I'm still going to be able to help my buyers find the perfect property. Without a doubt. This will not change or affect how I do my business and how I work for my buyers. So thank you very much for watching. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. I appreciated that you stayed with me during this whole video. This is one of the longest ones I've made, but I felt like it was important. And if you'll please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also like, comment, and if you have any questions, give me a call. Thank you so much from Panama City Beach, Florida. Bye.